Welcome to this explainer of Dr. Kumud Singhal's book, Stay Cool, Stay Happy. Okay, so today we're going to fundamentally debug what I like to call the modern anxiety glitch, the sheer exhaustion of the digital battlefield. But instead of just tossing you some standard self-help advice like, hey, take deep breaths, we're actually going to explore a highly logical, incredibly practical software patch for your overloaded mind.
We constantly feel like this incomplete nine, just desperately scrolling, working, and searching for any kind of external validation. We tell ourselves we absolutely need those social media likes, those perfect grades, or that specific group chat invite to finally earn that missing one and become a whole 10. It is just an exhausting cycle. You're essentially treating your own human worth as a math variable that constantly needs to be solved. We run on this crazy treadmill trying to prove we're enough to an outside world that is, frankly, just as confused as we are.
Okay, let's dive right into this by peeling back our exhausting obsession with external labels. Dr. Singhal calls this the concept of names and forms. To get this, imagine a beautifully carved wooden horse toy sitting right next to a really simple wooden bowl. If you ask anyone, they'll tell you these are two completely different things, right? They have different shapes, different names, and entirely different jobs. I mean, you play with one and you eat soup out of the other. Our brains are totally wired to instantly categorize them as separate, distinct objects based purely on their external packaging. But here's the real kicker. Despite having completely different names in these totally temporary forms, both the horse and the bowl are made of the exact same underlying substance: wood. If you can just look past the temporary labels we assign to them, the unchanging reality common to both objects is just the wood itself. The wood doesn't care if it's carved into a horse today or a bowl tomorrow. Without the wood, neither the toy nor the bowl can even exist. The forms are temporary, sure, but the substance? That remains completely constant.
And this leads us directly into what Dr. Singhal calls the name and form trap. Basically, we obsess over the wrapping paper. There's this absolutely brilliant story in the book about two neighbors who bought horses. They kept them in the same field, but couldn't tell them apart. So they were desperate to fix this. One neighbor cut the mane off his horse. Well, that worked, until the hair grew back. Then they tried cutting the tail. Then they literally tried painting stripes on one of them, but the rain just washed the paint right off. Finally, one neighbor says, okay, look, the white horse is yours and the brown horse is mine. They were so intensely busy modifying the superficial markings, clipping the hair, painting stripes that washed away in the rain, that they completely missed the totally obvious reality that the horses were different colors all along. And you know what? We do the exact same thing. We get so caught up in superficial differences, like teenagers judging each other by their clothes, or adults obsessing over the cars they drive, that we desperately try to fix the outside, completely missing the essential oneness underneath it all.
So what happens to our anxiety if we just strip away these labels and zoom all the way in? Like if we literally stop looking at the superficial wrapping paper of our lives, the grades, the status, the changing trends, how deep can we actually go? What is the ultimate substance of everything around us?
Let's break this down using a sort of subatomic reduction. Imagine a potter takes a lump of clay and makes a pot. The pot is really just clay with a specific shape and a job description. Now, if that pot breaks, the form disappears, but the raw clay is still there. Let's zoom in even further with, say, a supermicroscope. Is the clay absolute? No, it reduces to finer molecules. Those molecules reduce to atoms, and those atoms drop all the way down to subatomic particles. If you keep peeling away every single temporary label, what is the one thing you absolutely cannot peel away? Even if the atom is gone, you are left with the undeniable fact that it exists. You hit the absolute baseline, which we can call pure is-ness.
Is-ness, or existence, is literally the final irreducible fact that supports every single name and form in the universe. Forms are always going to change, they're going to break, and they're going to disappear. A clay pot will shatter, a toy will break, your social status will fluctuate up and down. But this pure existence, that's the constant, shared screen that everything in the universe plays on. Just think of a mighty ocean. You've got these huge, towering waves and tiny, totally insignificant ripples. They look entirely different on the surface, but they are all made of the exact same water. They arise from the ocean, exist in the ocean, and return right back to the ocean.
Now, at this point, you might be glancing at a ceramic mug on your desk, or maybe a rock outside, and wondering, okay, wait, how could my intelligent, complex, feeling life possibly be made of the exact same source material as a dumb piece of clay? It's a completely fair question. How on earth can this underlying is-ness account for human intelligence and emotion?
Well, think about electricity. This is a really great analogy. If you plug a simple space heater into the wall, that electrical current just sits there and generates simple heat. It doesn't think, it doesn't process anything. But if you take that exact same electrical current and plug it into a high-speed computer, it suddenly manifests as intelligence. It processes complex data. Is the electricity in the computer somehow smarter than the electricity in the heater? No way. It's the exact same current. The universal source simply adapts entirely to the equipment it runs through. So in an inanimate object like a rock, a toy, or that ceramic mug, this underlying reality functions simply as pure existence. It just is. It's like the space heater. But in a human being, with our incredibly complex biological equipment, our brains, our sensory organs, our entire nervous system, that exact same source material actually manifests as awareness.
Which brings us to a massive realization for your day-to-day life. Awareness is the capacity to know you exist. It is the silent witness observing the movie of your life. Think of a movie screen. A movie can show a loud, fiery explosion one minute or a quiet, gentle sunset the next. The movie is changing constantly, just like your daily moods, your stressful text messages, or your changing grades, but the screen itself, it never changes. It just holds the movie without ever getting burned by the fire or wet by the rain. You are not your changing body, your fluctuating grades, or your anxious thoughts. Your true nature is the calm, untouched awareness that silently observes everything happening around you.
But when we forget this, well, we end up running on the anxious, glitchy software of modern life. We operate on what the book calls a sheep operating system. Dr. Singhal shares this really profound story of a majestic lion cub that gets separated from its family and is raised by a flock of sheep. The lion cub basically spends its life bleeding nervously at the world, terrified of everything, frantically trying to fit in with the flock. And honestly, that is exactly what we do when we desperately chase external validation. We are literally lions acting like sheep. We live in that exhausting state of lack until a wise, older lion drags the cub to the still water of a lake and forces it to look at its own true reflection.
The moment that cub sees its true reflection in the still water, everything changes. And that's the point. You are already complete. You are a perfect 10. The universe isn't a collection of separate broken parts that you somehow need to piece together to earn your worth. Your true nature is stable, calm, and entirely whole. You really don't need to perfectly arrange the flickering pixels of your life so you look incredibly successful to everyone else. The missing piece was never actually lost, you simply forgot to count yourself as the silent, complete witness to all of it.
And that brings us to the ultimate system upgrade. The creator and the material of this universe, they're not two separate things. The universe is one seamless fabric of pure existence awareness. You aren't separate from it, you literally are it. Are you ready to step into your awareness? Realize you are the entire fabric of the universe, and finally let your golden lion roar. The choice is entirely yours.